Hey, it's Steve. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to build a section of scaffolding planking for my sister, who's painting a kind of a spiral weird staircase in her house, her old Victorian house. She's trying to get up into the very corner of this high, open, weird, configured space. So anyway, I thought we could probably try building a nice plank for her. And so what I'm using today, the span that I got to go across, I measured it at about, it's probably just around 10 foot at the longest, widest point from where I can support it on either end securely and safely. So because of that, I wanted to use instead of using like 2x4s, I'm going to use 2x8s for the basically the joist of the plank. And I just got 1/2 inch plywood for the top because I'm only going to make the plank 1 foot wide. The reason I'm going to make it 1 foot wide is it'll fit in the step ladders that I'm supporting it on both ends with. It'll fit right in so it won't slide around or go anyplace. So if I make it any wider than that, it's not going to fit. I'll have to put it I'll have to make some other kind of a jerry rig to make the thing secure. So anyway, oh, by the way, I am aware that there's a lot of other options to do this, but I'm trying to do it on the cheap. And the other thing I'm going to do, and of course nothing's cheap nowadays, right? So the other thing I'm going to do is later on, she wants to put some shelving in a certain area of her house, and I need to build her an outdoor shelter for her lawnmower and some other things that she's never had, but she really should have. So what we're going to do is repurpose the wood afterwards for that, to help in those projects. But anyway, so what we got here is we got I'm going to make the plank's got to be 10 foot long. Excuse me. The area I'm going to span is not 10 foot long. It's about 8 foot long. So the plank I need a room on each end to put the sawhorses there. So I made a little boo-boo in my information. So I got a 12 foot 2x8 and a 10 foot 2x8. I use a 10 2x8 to make sure that I'm going to have enough structural stability to make sure that the plank is strong. I couldn't go any higher or it wouldn't fit in the stepladder. The stepladder seems to be ruling the day, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up here. I'm going to cut the plywood first. I'm going to use I got a couple sawhorses set up. I'm going to use the 2x8s to support the plywood when I cut it. So bear with me. I'm going to go out here and start working, and you guys are going to be watching, I guess, for a little bit. I think you guys can see it okay. I don't know if you can see it in the picture or not, but I marked out I marked out 1 foot and 2 foot on each end. I got a chalk line out and snapped me a line to go by. And part of the reason why I did it that way was I know there's saw blade width to consider and all that, but I'm making a scaffolding plank. It doesn't matter if it's 1/8 of an inch off on each side. And this way I got a full 2 foot by 4 foot, or excuse me, a 2 foot by 8 foot piece of plywood that's basically undisturbed, so I can use that again for future projects. Whereas I'm going to be cutting an 8 footer, and then I'm only going to use 2 foot of the other 2 foot piece I'm cutting. But the reason I'm cutting it off is because, have you ever tried to store a weird piece of plywood that's got one leg sticking out the bottom? It's a pain in the neck. So I'm just making it all square, and the chances are I'd have to cut it off later anyway. So anyway, I'm going to cut. I think I'll leave it on while I cut. Sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but, hearing some power tools going, see some sawdust flying, it's all good, man. So let me get busy. Oh, by the way, I set the depth of my saw to be just thicker than the plywood. That's to make sure I don't cut into my sawhorses or anything else that's out there. And I did do a stupid, though. I plugged the saw in first, and then I set the depth. You should always try to do the depth setting before you plug the saw in, just in case. Not that you're going to pull the trigger on yourself, but you never know. Better safe than sorry, right? But I didn't follow my own advice. That's up to you, but I would recommend you don't plug your saw in until you've done all those preliminary things, okay? And let me fire up and we'll get going. So the reason I didn't just use like a 2x12 or a 2x10 is because of that kind of a span. It's real bouncy. My sister's very unsteady on the height, so I wanted to give her something substantial to make her feel more secure. So I've got the plywood almost cut, and I'll have a 2 foot by 8 foot section that's left over. We'll use that for shelving or something later on. And then I'm going to mark out the 2x8s, get those cut. and I do a lot of unnecessary talking, so I'm just going to voice over. So because I want my plank, my finished plank to be 10 feet long, the one 2x8 is 10 feet long, but I had to trim off like a quarter of an inch off the end. It's a little one square. And then the other one is actually a 12-foot 2x8. So I got a 2-foot piece there, and then I'll cut two 9-inch pieces off the end of that to fit between the two 2x8s to make a total of 12 inches. Yeah, as you're watching that, I think you can tell I cut the two little 9-inch pieces. Then I just had to trim off just a little bit, just to make it right. Here you can see I'm just gonna, I got the two 2x8s up on the edge. I got the little thing in the little end piece in the middle. 3 screws on each end, on each side, I mean. So 6 screws on each end, 12 screws all together. And I'm just gonna pop those in. I got this running on a high speed so you can not be bored to death by me trying to find, right now I'm looking for a good battery. The other one was not good. So anyway, I'll let this run about this. What I did here was I put the 2x8s on edge like that. I could have put it down on the ground. You know, my garage floor is pretty level, and then everything's kind of even, so you don't have to monkey around trying to hold that little piece and screw it at the same time. But what I did was, if you saw, I put it on the sawhorse. I happen to have a sawhorse that's got a 2x4 width on top. Okay, unfortunately, the video got cut off for lack of space in my phone, which happens on a regular basis because I don't pay attention to that. I don't even know how you tell, other than you run out and it tells you you're out of space. But anyway, let's get on with the show. So I don't know where the video cut out. I'll have to go check it later when I get into editing and all that. But so what's going on here so far is I put the two 9-inch pieces on each end. I put 3 screws on each side, 6 per end, 12 screws all together. And then I took my sheet of plywood that I had already cut to 1 foot wide and it's 8 foot long, and I put it on the 2x8s, and I put the factory edge, the uncut edge here, which is nice and straight, along one side of the 2x8, and I'll usually have to kind of line it up so it's nice and straight and square. And then the other side, if I had to, I can bow that in or out a little bit and put the screws in to make sure that's nice and straight and square. Should keep the whole operation pretty straight, pretty square, and pretty level. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the screws in. I'll probably let the camera keep on running now that I got lots of space, and I can edit out the things I think are unnecessary or you might not be interested in. So that's where we're at so far. Let me get busy. As you can see, I'm screwing the plywood down on top. I'm trying to keep it square. I'm not using a lot of screws because you don't really need any. Not that many. I think I put 6 in that big piece. Probably only put 4 in this other one. So it doesn't require a lot of support. So I could have measured out a 2-foot piece on that 1/2 inch piece of plywood that I'm using to fill in that end. But what I did is I just did a physical marking and just cut it there. It could be 2 foot, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever. I just wanted to use a physical measurement to be sure. So I'm doing a beach whale imitation to show you how strong that plank is, and it is strong. So the key things here is the plank is really strong. It won't bow or bend. It'll make somebody on the ladder feel a lot more secure. And it fits in a standard step ladder on either end. So it kind of holds it in there a little bit. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. The guard doesn't come up, so then you push hard, then your blade goes cockeyed, and then, you guys all know, right? So just be careful. Go slow. Take it easy. Only do what you think you can do. If you're having a problem, you stop and find somebody that can help you out with the whole thing. So my next job is I'm going to stuff this in my car. Then I'm going to sweep my floor. Right there, I think you can see it. That's my piled scrap. See if I can get that in the camera. That's all I had for scrap. 2 3-inch pieces, and I think there was 2 nubs, and that's it, right? So I can throw that in the campfire and that'll burn right out. That nice little piece of kindling right there. And I try to always figure projects out so there's as little waste as possible. Now, aside from the scrap, there is, over here, you're going to see there's the 2 pieces of plywood. We got a 6 foot tall by 2 foot wide piece, and then we got a 2 foot by 8 foot wide piece. And that's 1/2 inch plywood, which is ideal for things like shelving. You can use it for a little shed roof and stuff like that. It'll work out just fine. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck on your next project. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.